It's the job done. This to all your needs. The soap bar and liquid detergent was created and added to S. Kumar's line of products. This addition guarantees to be mild on the skin, allowing the bar soap to be used as a beauty bar and ideal for hand washing. The liquid soap with added softener leaves your clothes with a bright clean while removing all odor, dirt, and grease. The liquid soap is ideal for your appliances, ensuring great performance. For luxurious laundry detergent, choose a partner.
We plan for every major life event, from birthday parties to baptisms, and celebrating a life well lived deserves the same thoughtful planning. Beacon's Rest Easy plan is designed to give your loved ones the comfort of knowing that they can do just that. With no underwriting and cover for up to 6 family members that includes certain injuries, this plan can be yours for as little as 75 cents per day. Call us at Beacon or log on to beacon.co.tt for more info today.
2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6.
Education multiplies their chances and places the world of opportunity in their hands. No matter where they are in the world, make sure they are prepared for their journey back to school with Western Union. School fees, books, room and board, whatever the reason. Knowledge, independence, opportunity. Western Union, moving money for better.
This is what we got to say. Good morning once again to everyone that is locked on the Power 95 right now. Welcome inside of your ladies' room for today. Monday edition, first one for the week. Hope everyone is doing good. Whatever you're doing, hope you're giving your best today. If you're on the grind, 150%. Only that is good enough, yeah? If you're at home, hope you're being safe from all of this COVID out there. We're trying to limit movement right now. So if you don't need to go, try your best to stay inside. Sanitize, wash your hands regularly, protect yourself. Yeah, if you're on the road, leave enough time to get to your destination. Let us just try to have a good, not only Monday, but a good week. All right, with me today, I have a very special guest, Miss GAIL PURCELL. She is joining me inside of the ladies' room today. GAIL, good morning.
Good morning, Kareem.
How are you today?
I'm doing good.
All right. It is a pleasure indeed to have you. Got to say good morning to Janelyn. Good morning to Linda. Good morning to Crystal. Good morning to Miss Peters. And guys, you know what to do. Once you come in, just hit that share button so that everyone can be a part of the discussion this morning. All right. Now, GAIL, this morning we are talking, of course, COVID-19, your experience. But before we dive right into it, what was your take on COVID-19 prior to this experience?
Prior to this experience, I was, I think, always keeping an eye on what was happening with COVID. Concerned. I'm a self-employed person, a business person out in the community. And I was watching closely what was happening out in Grenada. Because honestly, I felt like in Grenada, we were kind of living in a little bubble. Things weren't so bad for the last year and a half, except for the fact we were suffering from the outside. The impact of what was happening in the outside world obviously has an impact on us here locally. But in terms of the crisis of COVID, we were managing fairly well. People were, for the most part, doing what they needed to do.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, we had, of course, people who wouldn't follow, but we had that with everything. But I think we were all comfortable that hopefully that we had kind of beaten this thing, or we had stayed away from the worst of it. But we've seen that turn drastically in the last 3 to 4 weeks. And now we're, as I call it, in the belly of COVID for the first time.
Yeah, but as a business person though, from the onset, how did that impact you as a business person?
Well, significantly, the slowness of the economy, the movement of people out, the turnover of spending that, we were accustomed to previously, particularly in the area that one of my businesses operates in the South, without the students around from SGU and just everything moving at a snail's pace, it had a trickle-down effect for everyone.
Right. And in terms of, viruses, diseases, what may have you, I mean, there is this one day when you're just there and it's all good, you're doing fine, and then at a certain point, it's just like, what is happening here? I mean, walk us through what made you, have a hunch probably or suspect that you may have contracted COVID-19.
Um, so if I backtrack a bit,
Mm-hmm.
a few days before things got really out of hand, I follow it on social media. I don't comment a lot. I read a lot. I may speak amongst my friends about my feelings about things, but I kind of getting a little maybe the word discussions falling between people falling in two paths. You either had to be supporting the vaccination or supporting building your immune system. And
Mm-hmm.
I wrote something on my Facebook page on the 31st of August, just to show you the irony of it. And I was speaking about the fact that why does it have to be one or the other? Because that's how I was feeling it was being put out. Either
Right.
you're a supporter of vaccine or you're a supporter of eating naturally and building your immune system. And there was no somewhere in between. And my feeling really
Mm-hmm.
was that it had to be a bit of both. We, how could we, and my conclusion was that we're running out of time in this fight against COVID. And how can we only rely on building our immune system when we've done for years of abusing our immune system?
Mm-hmm.
That won't change overnight. It's a process. It needs to happen. I think that's what we need to focus on as well. But that won't change like a light switch. It doesn't turn on, it doesn't turn off. It's a
Mm-hmm.
complete change in mindset, it's a complete change in lifestyle. And I put that out there on the 31st of August. So lo and behold, when on the 3rd of September, just a few
Mm-hmm.
days later, I tested positive for COVID. I'm like, wow, the irony of all of this.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself a healthy person. I exercise regularly.
Right.
I think I eat well. I do
Mm-hmm.
all of that, but I contracted COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of reinforced that. But then at the same time, I have to declare I'm fully vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated since about May of this
Mm-hmm.
year. And I was in contact with someone that works with me, and she had symptoms earlier in the week, and I told her, stay home, don't come to work.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't tested, but a few days later, the Friday, she wasn't tested as yet. She was waiting for testing. Friday, I woke up that morning and I was feeling a little off inside my body, kind of feeling like a fever was coming on,
Right.
a little headache, but just not myself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in tune with yourself and you're
Yeah,
honest with
you
yourself,
could be able to tell. Mm-hmm.
you know what's happening, you know what's going on within your body. And I woke up and I had a few things to do, and I said, but wait, I said, no, there's no other. It was flu-like symptoms, just like what they say. You'll get flu-like symptoms, and what a headache, a little feverish, a little body ache. And I said, there's too much of this going on right now for it to be anything else other
Mm-hmm.
than COVID. And I wasn't taking a chance. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I have a household. My mother-in-law lives with me. She's older. I have 3 children who live with me. My husband lives with me, and they'll obviously share space.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I mean, if this is COVID, then I need to isolate myself. So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
We had a back room. I said, you know what, guys, I'm going in the back room, and I don't know what's going on, but I know my body's not feeling well. There's
Mm-hmm.
too much happening around us, and I'm not taking the chances.
So it wasn't a
Um,
situation whereby you thought, well, maybe it's just that regular cold that everyone is talking about, or just another regular
but
day of not feeling yourself.
I didn't believe that. I jumped right to it being COVID. I would rather go to the worst possibility than kind of suffer the consequences of thinking that it's not. So I assumed it was COVID,
Right.
because there wasn't any other cold going around.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that was happening at this time, at that critical juncture, based on what was going on in Grenada, I think it's a fair assumption. I think that's the assumption everyone should make. That assume you have COVID first and let that be ruled out. So that way you do what is necessary from Jump Street to protect the other people around you. Because we all walk around and say, oh, it's just a little cold, I'm just feeling a little down right now. And in the meantime, you continue in your life. You're in your kitchen with your family. You're using the same utensils. You're in the bathroom. You're touching things. And because obviously when you're in your home, your guard is the lowest it ever is. When you go outside, you
Be comfortable.
Yeah. So and you don't want to spread it to your family. So I just assumed the worst first, and I assumed it was COVID. So then I thought, okay, well, I'd already heard people talking about they can't get through to the hotline. The person who works with me, she'd been waiting for 3 days and she hadn't been able to get through. And as fate may have it, I would say that afternoon, I think they had their first pop-up clinic down at Food Fair car park, and someone had it up on their WhatsApp status, and I saw it, and I said, okay, well, here's an opportunity. I'm going to go get tested right away. So I jumped in the car, I picked up the person who works with me, and two of us went down, and sure enough, we both tested positive. So we went there. It was a fairly seamless process. I guess it was among the first of the pop-ups, and we got there kind of early, so we escaped some of the mayhem that may have happened in other places, but it was fairly seamless. And I, people ask me, well, what did they tell you? And I said, honestly, I'm sure the nurse was telling me something, but I was in my own space. I'm like, how is it that I got COVID? I can't believe this, like, and she was talking to me. She was
seemed like we lost you there, Gail, for just a minute. You hear me?
Yeah.
Are you hearing me? Oh, okay. I think you're
right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So she was telling me probably I need to quarantine for 14 days, and everything else. And I said, okay. But at the same time, even though she told me that, I said, well, okay.
Seems like she's gone completely now. So this morning we are talking with Miss Gail Purcell. Of course, she is sharing her COVID-19 experience with us right here inside of your ladies' room on Power 95. Gail, seems like you're back.
I'm back.
Seems like you're playing a little bit of hopscotch there with us. I don't know.
I think somebody's trying to call me. That's the problem, and I ended up having to use my phone.
People, no call not to Miss Gail Purcell, right?
No calls. No, if you're hearing my voice, don't call me. So yeah, but as soon as I got it was like I just kind of went into, okay, what do I have to do now? I thought about, well, okay, I've been in close contact with a few people for the week. I exercise. I have an exercise partner that I was with fairly close because we were running. I contacted her. I contacted other people that I'd been in contact with for that week, and I told them. From there, it meant 14 days isolation. The first night was later on in the day, I guess, after, all of the things that have to be done were kind of happened. I was in the back room. They were, my husband, kids, everybody was in their own space, and they were bringing me food. They dropped off my clothes, whatever I needed to kind of stay in the back. And that's how we managed for the next, for the whole time. They would drop food in front of the door. I had a chair there, and they'd knock and leave it and go. But I from symptoms wise, I would say that the vaccine did what they said it would do. They never said it was 100% that I wouldn't contract COVID. I'm asthmatic, so that was always a concern for me. I did not have any issues with breathing. I had fever, I had headache, I had some slight body pains. And Friday night, the first night, was a difficult sleep. I was up every 2 hours, I was restless. I kept checking my temperature maybe more frequently than I needed to. But
Mhm.
you're paranoid. You're wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern was whether or not anybody else was in my household was positive as a result of getting it from me.
Mhm.
So that was a big worry for me. And into the next day, they had the other pop-up clinic. So I said, listen, guys, you all need to go. Everybody needs to get tested in the house, because I just need to be sure that if it's me, then I'll deal with it. But I can't fathom the thought of my whole household having come down with COVID.
Mhm. And I mean,
Majority
I'm,
of my house.
I'm getting a sense of a lot of personal responsibility, and that is something that we find a lot of persons are struggling with because they may
Yeah.
realize that they have symptoms or so. They still go about their lives on a daily basis, just
Yeah.
keep it pushing, don't get tested anything, or they don't even say to their loved ones or so, well, hey, I mean, I have some symptoms, let's all get tested. And so, but I'm hearing a lot of that from your story, which I mean is amazing. It is.
Well, the truth is that I think that's key, and I think it's key for anybody at this point in time. If you think you're having symptoms, if you think you have the cold, get tested and rule out that it's not COVID. It's better to rule it out than to pretend or think it's not, and you end up spreading it to everybody in your household, and then you don't know. Everybody is going to interact with this virus differently, and for me, it might have been a lighter experience. I've spoken to other friends who are going through it now, who their
Mhm.
experience is terrible. And as they're unvaccinated, they've been through lots of pain, lots of disruption in sleep and everything else, and it's been bad.
Mhm.
But I think the key thing to minimizing the exposure of other people is to take steps immediately. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have symptoms. They're like, I just had a cold. I said, but really, what other cold is going on right now other than COVID? So why not rule it out? It's better to rule it out. It doesn't hurt you to rule it out. It actually helps you and it helps everybody else around you. So that would be my thing. That's the first step. You need to think beyond you, and think about others and how easily and it is spread pretty easy.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was isolation for all those days. That when my family tested, thankfully everybody was negative,
Mhm.
so I could settle a little bit. But my symptoms, they were there. But compared to what I've spoken to other people who have gone through it over the past few weeks that we've had this spike here in Grenada. I would say my experience mild, and it in saying that it was mild, but what did I attribute that to? I attribute it to the fact that I was vaccinated, because that's what they said the outcome of the vaccine would be, that you would have you may contract it, but you are more likely to have a mild case of it than you were to have a serious case of it. So I do, and I had a lot more time, obviously, to think. The room I was in, I could barely get Wi-Fi in the back there, so you had nothing else left to do but
Lots of time to
but
yourself.
think. I spent time for myself and reading a traditional book again. So
Mhm.
it gives you an opportunity to do that. And I
Right.
started thinking about when I told you I wrote something on the 31st of August. That was when we had the second COVID death registered. And when I decided to sit down and write again after my experience, which was, about 10 days later, we had 35 deaths from COVID. And it hurt me.
Mhm.
It is a painful experience. And, you know, we've lost people that we've worked with, we've lost people who are family members.
Mhm.
And I thought we don't need to experience this much loss at this time. It's preventable, it's manageable, we can control it. And
Mhm.
we had the opportunity. I think we were graced with 18 months of opportunity to to be ahead of the curve of COVID and not let it catch us. But it caught us. We got comfortable. All of us got comfortable. I was comfortable. I could say at times I was complacent. I didn't always do the perfect or right thing. I did have my mask, but there may be a time when I'm around people who I think I'm comfortable around, and I take my mask down.
Yeah, I was about to ask you,
and the environment.
where did you think, that you actually possibly contracted the virus? Do you think it was a breach in protocol on your part?
I think I'm pretty clear when it would have happened. I think the day that I was working with my coworker closely, and we were together in the car quite a bit for the day. I think it was during that period, and because it would have been the most likely opportunity. Both of us would probably take our mask off at some point in time. We would touch things that the other person is touching. So yes, while we sanitized, and because of the heightened COVID alert at that time, we were starting to wear a mask within the car. But maybe if the windows were open, it might have been different. There were different things. So, if I have to backtrack and think about when that would have happened, it probably happened in that space. But I was jumping back to say that, I think everyone in my household who was eligible to be vaccinated has been vaccinated. My daughter, who's 16, has had her first shot.
Right.
My son, who is 11, he's not quite 12, he's almost there. When he turns 12, he will have his first shot. We've lived a life of vaccination, and that is how I kind of rationalized it for myself when I decided. I think I was like everybody else. In the beginning, when I heard this vaccine came out, I'm like, boy, this thing came out a little too fast. Yeah, I'll take it, but I will let some people take it first. But millions of people have taken it first. Not in Grenada, maybe, but throughout the world. And if there was going to be a major fallout, I think we would have started to see.
Definitely.
We would have started to see that now. And there are lots of things we can do, but I just, even from people who I've spoken to in recent weeks who have experienced the virus and were not vaccinated, many of which are saying, if I could do it over again, I would vaccinate. Because the experience is difficult. They don't want to go through this again. They don't want people close to them to go through this again. And I also didn't want to. I thought, well, what's the point of this experience?
All right, seems like we lost you. We lost you for just a little bit again.
Yeah, I'm there.
All right, there you.
Yeah, I said, what's the point of me having this experience if I, keep it to myself? I don't think there's any shame in having COVID. There's no shame in it, and I don't think people should feel ashamed that it's a virus. It's here. It's very present in our life, and we need to. If we take away the shame from it, then maybe others can learn from each other's experience, and I would.
All right, seems like we lost her completely there. But of course, this morning we're speaking with Ms. GAIL PURCELL. She is sharing her COVID-19 experience with us. Hopefully, we can learn from it. To the persons who are still vaccine hesitant, I mean, we're getting this first-hand experience, first-hand information. And she said it for herself. I mean, the vaccine did do what research has been saying that it would do, right? So, I mean, that is a message today. Of course, if you still feel like you need to do some extra research, or you need some more convincing, then by all means do your research. Of course, ensure that the sources are credible, but do what you gotta do. But this is the message right now, people. It is real. We are living with it, and right now, I mean, we're getting a first-hand story how this happened. Personal responsibility, what steps and so were taken, right? So hopefully a lot of us can learn from this experience here this morning. GAIL, oh my God.
Bad.
I just have to take out the SIM card and not phone or something.
Yeah, I know. They told me to put the phone on do not disturb, so that might work.
Yeah. Yeah, but in terms of your vaccination conviction, because I mean, like I was saying when you stepped out for a little bit there, a lot of persons are still vaccine hesitant. Why do I need a vaccine? Or just asking questions like, the vaccine was made too soon and they don't trust it. Government is lying. This one is lying. So I mean, what would you say to these persons, these thousands of persons who are here?
Yeah. It's
Just
that, I mean, I'm not a medical expert. I'm not purporting to be. I'm a lay person like everybody else in the community. So I'm really just going based on information that was put out and trusting the source that's put it out. I mean, my long life, I have been vaccinated. I remember in my experience, Kareem, you're probably much younger than I am, but in my experience, I remember going to school and being vaccinated, and I don't even know if my parents were aware until I got home and told them the nurse was at school today, and we got a vaccine. We got a juke in the side of our arm. Obviously, things have evolved, and we do things with a better protocol now. But I have 3 children. All 3 of my children have been vaccinated for various things that they're not even aware of. And I think vaccination has been part of our life. And because of that, we have not seen all of these things that were plaguing us at that time. I mean, when last somebody who had chickenpox or who had measles or rubella or mumps? I don't even know if a lot of young people now know anything about mumps. These things were real. They happened.
Right.
And because we were vaccinated, and because our children now are still vaccinated, these things don't exist. If they happen, it's 1 in a million or something. I don't know the stats, the real stats, but that's the truth. It's so rare that you can, pretty much say it just doesn't happen. And when we looked at COVID happening around the world and millions of people dying around the world, I didn't believe, and I still don't believe that the only solution could be build my immune system. I'm healthy. I think I'm healthy, but I don't think that could be the only solution, because let's be honest with ourselves. Physically, most of us are not in the greatest shape. We have underlying conditions. We suffer from high blood pressure. We suffer from diabetes. We have all of these things. And from everything I have read and learned and watched, those are the conditions that COVID loves. So if we have those conditions, why not give ourselves an extra layer of protection? I'm not saying don't do the other stuff, because I do. I drink bush tea and different things, but I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket either and saying that that's the only thing that's going to work for you. You do need to live a healthy life, but if you've already damaged your immune system, can you just flip a switch and yesterday start eating good and thinking that's going to protect you from a virus that is running a rampage on us right now, today, as we speak? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's a period of time. It takes over a period of time. So that is why I decided to vaccinate. That's why I decided that with my family. My husband and I had different opinions, very different. For a long time, we debated about it. But he made his own decision as well. And one day, he didn't even tell me. He just went and he got vaccinated.
Wow.
So, and I was happy. So I didn't do the typical thing of a wife and say, well, I told you so. I just took it quietly. And I said, thank God. I'm happy he made that decision on his own. And so what I'm saying is that people do need to make the decision on their own, but look at the world experiences of where vaccination has taken us. And sit and listen to credible information. It's easy to forward a video It's very easy to forward video. I kind of take, yesterday they had a good forum with some medical professionals, Grenadians living in the diaspora. And they provided a lot of good information. And the truth is that I shared it around as much as I could. But what I saw on the live at some point, I think the highest maybe about 600 people. But I've seen press conferences where lives are like 10,000, you know,
Yep.
the numbers on it are really huge because people want to hear the bad news. And I think if we step back and we step out of the noise a little bit, and you can always hear what you want to hear if you surround yourself only with people talking the same thing. Sometimes you need to step out of it and listen to something else, and listen to it maybe alone without a bias for a moment, and just and ask your questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with people asking questions. I think we should. I don't think we should take everything that's just thrown out there. But I think if we reasonably think about it and not get in the hype, you would see that I think it is the best choice right now.
Definitely. And I mean, Gail, in terms of your mental space, because I mean, we spoke to a doctor just a couple of days ago, one of my guests, you know, and she was saying that COVID has impacted a lot of persons mentally. Some of them just not able to bounce back to where they used to be. I mean, you seem great to me, but how has it affected you know, your mental space, just going through the whole experience and so on? I mean, what was that like?
The alone time, I can see it's let me tell you something. If you are alone and you are experiencing very bad symptoms, I can see that having a real challenge on your, not just your physical functioning, but your mental functioning, because you don't know what is happening. Thankfully, I didn't have that experience. You know, yeah, I was uncomfortable.
Right.
I was, you know, and I was a little worried. I won't lie, because I didn't know where it was. You know, what was going to happen? Was it going to get worse? And as I said earlier, I'm asthmatic, so that was always a concern for me. But you know, I can definitely see how it would have an impact on people's, you know, functioning, what they're going through, because you have to. This is something you pretty much fight on your own. You know, even if you don't need to be hospitalized, but you're at home, you're really in a space by yourself, and it's challenging. It's challenging.
Definitely, Gail. We have to say thank you so much for joining us today, and of course, we got to say thank you to Eskumar Variety Store, Beacon Insurance, and Western Union for making our ladies' room discussion possible today. But Gail, just before we go, I mean, now we're at 2,000 plus cases, just about 50 or so deaths. I mean, what do you say to persons right now? We in the middle of this, we're living with it. Right about now is just, you know, trying to find a way out of the situation that we're in right now. But I mean, what would you say to Grenadians right now?
What I would say is we are in the belly of the beast right now. And how are we going to get out of it? You know, we have an option, and I have to add that somebody who was associated with our church was here, and he was from Kenya, and he's back in Kenya. And yesterday he sent me a message. He's been monitoring what's happening in Grenada, and he said, you know, it's amazing that Grenadians don't want to take the vaccine, and here I am in Kenya, and we can't get it. We can't. People want to get vaccinated, and we can't get access to the vaccine here. He got his first shot, and he cannot get his second shot until November, because they're focusing on trying to get more people vaccinated, at least with one shot. So it kind of contextualized it for me to say that, look, we have it here in abundance, you can say. We have enough vaccination here to supply our population, to get us to
so much that it's expiring.
Yeah, to the point where we have had to pass on those that have expired. And it's you know, it's unfortunate. And I wish, you know, what I wanted out of writing what I wrote, which, you know, I didn't expect so many people. I don't have that many followers on Facebook. I didn't expect it to trickle down as far as it did, but I just figured if I could impact one person to change their mind or to think about it a little harder and make the right choice to become vaccinated, that I could share an experience that I've been vaccinated, my family is vaccinated, my 18-year-old, my 19-year-old now daughter is vaccinated. She made that choice. She's to be vaccinated, and my children, once they are eligible, are vaccinated. And we've lived a life of vaccination, and that has brought us to the stage of where we are in the world right now. It has allowed us to live free of disease and viruses. And that's it is the choice. Everything else is a supporter of that. Living a healthy lifestyle, it just gives you one more layer of protection. But I can't see that you can have high blood pressure, suffer from diabetes and all of these things, and think that the only thing that's going to protect you is eating well. It's not. That is you are a walking test case for COVID. And I would wish for that person. And there's no shame in changing your mind. I think that's another thing I'd want to say. There's no shame in saying, I didn't think I should take the vaccine, but I've changed my mind. I think you can change your mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's opportunity out there. Let's do this. Let's get the country back. Let's get things under control and save lives, because it pains me as a mother, even the thought of having a child in the hospital, and I cannot be there to support them through this thing. And I'm sure any mother would feel the same.
That way, yep.
Any child whose parent is in the hospital would feel the same. And that is the situation we're in now. This is no longer what we were watching on television for a year and a half. This is happening here and happening now, and it's very real. People are dying. People have died. People who aren't dying are suffering tremendously in their homes. And we don't need to have that. I think we have a way out, and I would encourage people to make the best of the opportunities that is there and become vaccinated.
Gail, thank you so much for sharing with us today on behalf of Power 95. I mean, it was indeed a pleasure having you today. All right. And of course, thank you to everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And if you are listening on the frequency as well, thank you so much for making it your ladies' room for today. Of course, we're going to be back tomorrow for another one. Gail, thanks again. Have a good day.
All right. Take care.
Coming back with your world entertainment news and much more right here on Power 95. Don't touch it.